Hey guys, Obi here. I am going to show you in this video how to make subtitled sermon highlight videos in Adobe Premiere. There's a few things that we're going to cover, starting from the very basics of number one, setting up and creating the team project that we're going to be working with. Number two, finding and editing what to highlight in the sermon video. Number three, adding subtitles. There's two aspects that we're going to cover. One is auto transcribing, which is a new feature in Adobe Premiere, and stylizing of those captions. Number four, adding music. I'm going to show you where to get copyright-free music, how to add it into your project, and lastly, finalizing and exporting the whole thing. So let's jump right into it. Okay, starting from the very basics, I found that the best way to work on these projects is through team projects, and not necessarily because you're working with a team, but because they have an auto-save feature, so you never really lose your project. But we are working with a team in our context. Working in a team project, you want all the editors working in the same folder. So I highly recommend using Dropbox. So in Dropbox, organization is key. The way that I have my folder structure set up is videos. You have your year that the video is, and I have two different folders in here in your videos folder, which is your finished Premiere projects and video raw. The reason why I do this is because video raw, the raw files of a video project can take up a lot of space. And when you're finished exporting that project, you want to offload those files so it doesn't hog up all the space in your hard drive. So in your video raw folder in Dropbox, share that folder and have all your editors sync it to their computer so that if anything is added or changed, it'll automatically be added and everybody has the same assets to work with. So here is the shared folder, sermon recap videos, and it is already synced. So let's jump right into this. Let's launch Adobe Premiere. And we're going to be working with a team project. So this is how you do it from the very beginning. If you're opening one, just go to Open Team Project. Starting a new one, hit Start. Let's name this Sermon Recap. And I always start with the year first. 2-digit month, 2-digit day. And then you can add who you want to edit and be on the team. So let's go ahead and create this project. Awesome. Now, again, organization is key, and this is what I like to do is start making bins, and I'll show you what I do. Down here, this is your projects panel. Now, you can create a bin by hitting this, or you can hit Command B. Now, I always make 4 bins to just right off the get-go. A video bin. I'll do a audio bin. And Command B also creates these. A sequence bin and an overlay bin. Okay, let's drag in the video files that we're going to be working with. You go back to Finder, get this here, and just drag it right into your sermon video. Awesome. Now let's create a sequence that we will edit these videos in. You can go down here and hit New Item to Sequence. In sequences, the standard sequence that we like to work off of is Digital SLR 1080p, and look for 1080p 30. So let's name this Sermon Recap and put the date. Again, start with the year first, 2-digit month and day. Now you have a sequence right here. Let's drag this sequence into the sequence bin. So everything is nice and tidy. Okay, so this right here is the video file that we're going to be working with. Now there's 2 videos, and there's a reason why there's 2. I'll show you. One is a secondary angle, and this helps a lot with cutting. So let's go ahead and drag this guy in here. And this is a sermon video, and this is the sermon podcast at City Church. We are going to drag that into video track 1. Now we're going to take the second angle here, and this is straight raw from the camera, and we are going to just throw it above it. Now we got to sync these two together, and so check this out. You highlight both of them, and you right click, go up to Synchronize. We're going to synchronize the audio of track 1, hit OK, and let it work, and it's going to sync these 2 videos with the audio as best they can. Okay, it finished and the audio is synced. Now we got to double check and make sure that it really is synced, because it'll get it close, but sometimes it's not exactly perfect. So drag these tracks a little bigger so that we can see the WAV file, because you can sync it visually a bit better. Now I'm going to move this over so we have more space on the timeline. Great thing about Premiere is everything is customizable in these panels. You can move them wherever you want and resize them. So let's play this and see how it sounds like.
And so here's what I like to think of when I think of this.
It's pretty close.
Underneath the...
But you can see if you zoom all the way in, look at this peak and this peak, it's just a little bit off. And so what we're going to do is we're going to nudge one of them forward or back. Now to nudge, my key command is on Option and the arrow key, but I think default it should be Command and left or right arrow will nudge back and forth.
The covering of that banner. And so here's what I
now that sounds a bit better.
like to think of when I think of this in our...
So okay, now audio is synced, right? Now we want to focus on the audio of this bottom track, not the audio of the camera, because it's not as clean. It's not from the mic. If you listen to it, watch, if you solo this track,
context, you know, when God is our banner,
it's not as good as this track.
And we live
So let's just mute audio track number 2 from the camera, and so that we're only working with clean audio from the mic.
You know, when God is our banner, and we...
Okay, so notice there's 2 angles here. If you toggle this eyeball, you can see both of them. This top angle is a 4K, it's from a 4K camera. We're working off a 1080 sequence, so it's going to be too big. So one thing that we're going to do is we're going to resize it right here in your effects control panel under motions. You can expand this. There's a thing that says scale, and you can make it bigger or smaller. So this 4K has a lot of room to grow. So we can resize it. I want to still zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to keep it about 75%. You can choose how big you guys want it. But I don't want his head to be cut off. So I'm going to use this position right here. This is your X and your Y axis. This controls left and right. This controls up and down. So click and hold down and just drag down. That's about right. That's good. So now you can see him. Okay, so both angles are synced up together. Now what I want to do is I want to turn this secondary angle off and work with the video track on video track 1. So one thing that I like to do, highlight and right click. There's a thing that says enable. If you disable it, it turns the track off, it grays it out, and it bypasses it. So now you see what's on track 1. So again, enable, turns it back on, uncheck enable, it turns it off. Now, I made a keyboard shortcut. Mine is Shift V. So Shift V will turn this on and off. All right, so now is how do we choose and find the section to highlight in this sermon video? Everything is synced up and ready to go.
Everything else I'm good with, and
now, Pastor Kyle, he already let me know that he wanted to highlight the cauliflower story. So what we're going to do is find the cauliflower story, and we're going to find a good in point and a good out point of this story that makes sense. So the cauliflower story is...
Let me see. I used to really not like cauliflower.
So there's a cauliflower.
Now, funny little sidebar story from a long time ago.
All right. So I think we can start it from right when it says, I used to really not like cauliflower.
And I grew to tolerate...
So let's do it.
I used to really not...
Right here. That's...
I used to really not like cauliflower.
That's where he starts. That first peak right here is just a So let's cut that out and just start it at the next I. And I'm looking at the wave files right here. See, that's the So put the playhead right here on a down trough. Let's highlight both of them. Just drag from a blank space, highlight both of them. Now here's where keyboard shortcuts save a whole bunch of time. You can go over here, get the razor tool, and snip, right? But what I like to do is my keyboard shortcut for making an edit is Shift D, and it is Add Edit. And that cuts everything wherever the playhead is at. So
I used to really not like cauliflower, okay? And I grew to tolerate.
okay, so now we don't want anything from before here. So let's just highlight that, hit delete. Now I want to start the whole thing with this in the beginning, so I'm going to click on an empty spot here. And what it's going to do, click on this empty spot, hit delete. It's going to move everything to the front.
I used to really not like cauliflower.
Now let's find an out point from this story.
Okay.
So he's telling a funny story about cauliflower.
Which was my
Now we want to know what the point is.
personal
Now he's getting to why he's telling the cauliflower story, so let's go through this.
in life. But he knows
This is a good
shepherd.
ending point right here,
An opportunity for the good shepherd to restore your soul.
right there,
You know, for your soul.
right after soul. So let's cut here. And again, my shortcut is Shift D, but you can make yours whatever you want for adding an edit, or you can just, use this razor tool and cut it like that. Shortcuts make things a lot easier. So this is where it ends.
Soul.
Let's delete the rest of this. We know we don't need this. And there you go. This is what we're going to work on to highlight. And I'll show you why we have a second angle in a second. But what I like to do now is, with highlight videos, I like to start it off with kind of like a teaser or like the main punchline. So you're going to find what that main punchline is. You're going to make a copy of it, put it in the very beginning. So
Ultimate.
let's find it.
Or do you take it as an opportunity for the good shepherd to restore your soul?
Now that'll be a good intro, a good teaser in the beginning.
When God asks you to lie down.
So let's take it from right there. And so
So
let's make an edit here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, Command C, or you can right click it and hit copy, or just hit Command C. Go to the very beginning of the timeline. Now you want to make some space, so you can highlight it all and move it, all of it, like that. Or another thing that you can do is you hit this button, and this is track select forward. And this allows you to choose whatever you're on, and everything that's on this side where the arrows are pointing will be selected. So it'll select all of it. So I'm just gonna make some space. I'm gonna bring the cursor back here. I already copied this intro teaser line, and I'm gonna just hit Command V, paste it, boom. Now I want to have a little space in here because I'm gonna put a little title intro in right there. So it sounds like this.
And so when God asks you to lie down, do you kick and scream, or do you take it as an opportunity for the good shepherd to restore your soul?
Okay, cool. That makes sense. I like this. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a thumbnail in here with a title, introduce some music right here, but I'll show you how to do that later. All right, I'm going to make a thumbnail. So what I'm going to do is try to find a good frame to freeze on that can be a thumbnail for this video. Right here, he's smiling. That's good. Let's take a snapshot. Right here is a camera. Hit it, and it's going to make sure the format is a JPEG. You want to choose where it's going to go. Now let's make everything go to that shared Dropbox folder so everybody has the same assets. It's right here. Just choose it. And this is important. Make sure that this box is checked. Import into team project. So hit OK. And voila, it just imported that snapshot into here. Now this is going to be an overlay. I'm going to throw this into the overlay bin. Now take this, drag it into the timeline. Let's resize it so it'll fit in here, and just drag it down.
Soul.
Now, this will make sense when we put music and a title over it. One thing that I like to do is do a little push in. And so this is how you do that. If you highlight this, up here is your effects control. And under scale, I want it to push in just a little bit, kind of like a Ken Burns effect. So let's first have a starting point. Let's go. I'm gonna make it a little zoomed in, bring him down because his head is too close to the top of the frame, like that. Good. Now this is a little stopwatch icon. We're gonna make an animation, so go ahead and hit this, and what it did, it just made a waypoint on here, and so that means that when this video reaches right here, it's gonna move to this waypoint. So right now it's at 113. That's the scale of it. So I want it to push in more. So I'm gonna move this playhead forward, and I'm gonna drag it a little bit bigger. So there you go. Now it's 126. So now it knows that from this waypoint to this waypoint, it's gonna push from 113 to 126. Now I want this to go the entire length of this clip. So I'm gonna pull this waypoint here, pull this waypoint to the end. And that way, from the end to the beginning to the end, it slowly pushes in. But you know, I just noticed something. You see this top here? That's the edge of the frame. So I don't want that to be there. So I'm gonna lift it up a little bit, go to position, and scoot this guy up. There you go. So now it goes.
To restore your soul. I used to.
Cool. And we'll make a title for that. So if you go to your central graphics bin, right here, there's a bunch of different titles you can have. Just choose one. I'm going to choose, let's do this one. This looks cool. You can choose whichever one you want. All right, it's in here. Let's line this title up to be right above this thumbnail. Now it's too big, of course, so let's make it smaller. In your effects control, highlight this guy, and let's size it down lower. We got to think, we're also making this for social media, so we want to think what's going to fit in a square. So just imagine a square in there. You can also put some guidelines to show you. Now I'm going to have this down a little bit. Let's see. And you know what? I don't know what I'm going to call this yet, so I'm just going to write test title, and I'm probably going to make it all caps. I need to listen to the clip and figure out what can be the main point to make the title of this thing. So let's make it a little bit bigger, a little bit lower, and just leave it here for right now. And we'll figure out what the title after we cut this highlight.
Sold.
Cool.
I used to.
Okay, so now this is the next section that we're going to do. So we're going to go through this section of the video, and we're going to cut out the fat. So if there is like ums and uhs, and if he says something that doesn't really need to be there in this clip, we're going to cut it out, and we're going to mask those cuts with the second angle. I will show you how to do this.
Really not like cauliflower. Family. And,
so example this.
Lisa, early on in dating,
he says, we can cut that out. It doesn't, you know.
Lisa.
We don't want that, Okay, that's an example of something that we can cut out. So what we're going to do is you can see it in your WAV file. It's this, right here. So let's make a cut here. And this is where your shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts come in handy. And I'm going to make another video about keyboard shortcuts that I made that make editing 2 times faster. It's incredible. So anyway, we're going to make an edit right here because we know this is what we want to cut out, right? So line up the playhead so it has some space before this Put it in a trough, a silent area. So I'm going to hit Shift D, which is my add edit keyboard shortcut.
Lisa.
And so we want to cut this out.
Lisa.
And start it right here.
Lisa.
Right where he says Lisa. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add. Now, traditionally, how you do this is you would go to your razor tool, snip, go back, find the other area, go back to your razor tool, snip, go to your selection tool, and highlight, hit delete, highlight, hit delete, and then click on an empty spot and hit delete, and it pulls it closer.
Lisa.
So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps that we just did. But with keyboard shortcuts, you can speed all that up. So I'm going to hit undo and pretend that I didn't just do that. Now, the keyboard shortcut that I want you guys to put into your bag of tricks is add edit. So if you go here to keyboard shortcuts, type in add edit. It's this guy right here. I made mine Shift D. Now there's a reason why I made mine Shift D. The other one that I want you guys to add in here, it's trim, ripple trim. Ripple trim to next playhead, ripple trim next edit to playhead, or ripple trim previous edit to playhead. These two are going to save you tons of time. So I have mine at Shift F and Shift S. Okay, so this is what it's going to do. You're going to highlight here. We know that we want to chop that out, and we just did that same step in 6 edit points. But now with this keyboard shortcut, you add edit, Shift D for me, and stop the playhead right here. Right there, right? And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Shift S, which is ripple edit to previous playhead, previous edit. So what it's going to do, it's going to take this previous edit point and it's going to pull it up to here and ripple everything, pull everything back. So Shift S pulls everything to the previous edit point. Shift F, it'll pull everything to the next edit point. So I did that same thing in 2 steps instead of 6.
Lisa.
So now we got rid of that
Early on in dating, Lisa and her family.
Now, one thing that I like to do is add where you make an edit, put a little crossfade for the audio. So you can do that by highlighting where that edit is, right click, hit apply default transition. Now, you don't want it this big, so go to the end of that transition and drag it as small as possible. And you don't need a video transition here, so let's just highlight this, hit delete, take it out.
Lisa.
So now it's a clean cut.
Dating, Lisa.
But now visually, look how he jumps.
Dating, Lisa. Dating, Lisa.
Now this is why we have the second angle right here, because we can hide that edit
Dating, Lisa.
by turning this on. So I'm gonna enable this track again. Enable. And now that hides that edit.
Dating, Lisa and her family invited.
So it's not as obvious that that cuts there. So we're gonna have this
Lisa and her
cut,
family.
hide that edit, and we'll find a good place to turn it off again.
The smell of it made me feel gross. I just didn't like it. And so early on in dating, Lisa and her family invited me over to their house to meet the family. And
We can stop it right there. That's a natural
meet
break.
the family. And
So what I'll do is highlight this, and I'll hit Shift D or add edit, whatever you want to choose to make your keyboard shortcut as add edit, or you can use the razor tool. And then I'm going to highlight this second track. I'm going to turn it back off by, you could right click, hit enable. My keyboard shortcut is Shift V, turns it off.
and
So now,
to meet the family. And
so now we took out that
And so early on in dating, Lisa and her family invited me over to their house to meet the family. And so this was kind of a big deal.
Cool. All right. So remember, it's very important if you make an edit, also make sure to add a transition, audio transition. You don't need the video transition, an audio transition, and just make it smaller. Smooths out those things. So now we're going to go through the rest of this clip, and we're going to find any other things that we need to take out, cut, or edit, doing this exact same process. We're going to cut what we don't want out, and we're going to slide everything back, put a little transition, and we're going to mask it with the second angle. So let's go ahead and do that.
Good shepherd to restore your soul.
All right, that works. So we only had to cut a few things, so that's not too bad. So, content-wise, here is your highlight from here to here, and it's roughly 3 minutes. And I think that's a good size length of a highlight. Anywhere from 1 minute to 5 minutes. You can even go to 10 minutes if it's a good piece, but yeah, around there. So this is going to be 3 minutes. So this is your highlight. What we're going to do next is we're going to add subtitles to it. Now, it's always, you want to make sure that what you're going to cut is going to stay there, because you don't want it to move around later. Once your subtitles, is just a lot to move. So once this is set, now let's create your subtitles. So this is what I'm going to do. There is a new feature on Premiere version 15 and up. They made a new caption panel. Now, they also added it up here as captions, but as of this moment, I'm on version 15.2. I'm still experiencing some glitches with it, so I don't like using this caption, like hitting this caption panel. What I like to do is, if you don't have, you go to Windows up here and search for text. Hit text, and it is going to add the text panel into this panel right here. There's a new feature with Premiere that they're rolling out called Auto Transcribe, and it will automatically listen to your track, your sequence, and transcribe it to the best it can. It is a huge time saver, but it's not completely rolled out yet. You have access to it if you request for early access, and if you want that early access, I will put the link down in the description below. You click it, it'll take you here, and you can apply for early access of the brand new speech to text feature. But who knows, by the time, they said they're going to release it this year, so maybe by the time you're watching this, it's already released for everybody. But if not yet, go ahead and apply for it right there. I'll show you how it works. So this is how the auto transcribe feature works. Hit transcribe. It's going to bring up this new window called create transcript. You're going to choose audio analysis. So make sure the track on audio 1 is selected in English. Now this is important. It says transcribe in point to out point. Now for our purposes, we only need to transcribe the first minute, because we're also doing this for Instagram. You only need the first minute on there. So let's do in point and out point, but we need to set the in point and out point. So let's cancel out of here. Let's set the in point. This is how you set your in point. You can hit this. And let's go to a minute here.
This day for you to enjoy.
Yeah, we can put an out point right here. Out point. Now my keyboard shortcuts are E and R for my in point and out point. So now, that's all we need to get transcribed, the first minute. All right, let's transcribe the sequence. Bring this back. Audio 1, transcribe in and out point, and hit transcribe. Now it's going to analyze and create the transcription on its own. And it's done. Here you go. It has transcribed this first minute from the in point to the out point. And look, as you're scrubbing through, you can see that it is tracking along with it. So that's pretty cool. So what we're going to do, this button right here, it's create captions. This is going to make a new caption track and throw it into your project. All right, create new caption, format, subtitle, and create sequence transcript, hit OK. And it just threw it all right here on this brand new subtitle track. Now, one thing that we got to do is we got to go through it and just make sure that what it's saying is right, because sometimes the transcription isn't completely accurate. So you need to double check. So make sure you do that. Let's go through it.
Out, the smell of it made me feel gross.
So he didn't finish it what he was saying.
The smell of it made me feel gross.
He said "grah," but he was trying to say gross. So let's just put gross in here. Feel gross. Update that. There you go.
So Lisa's mom, Marcia, makes
Marcia, not Marcia. Marcia.
so Lisa's mom. Now to this day,
All right. So that's all the captions. There's a few corrections, but pretty much good. Awesome. So the transcription is correct. Now let's stylize this. All right. So let's see where this is. I want to change this to a different style. Now, if you highlight one of these caption tracks in your essential graphics under edit, it's going to give you a chance to change some of the styling of it. So here, as you can see, let's start with the text. The text that I like to use is this one called BBoss New. If you don't have it, you can click this, add Adobe fonts, type in BBoss New, and you can find it. So BBoss New, let's make it bold. Good. Now I like that, but I don't like the positioning of it. I want to get a little more creative with this. So right here, align and transform. This is going to be your X and your Y axis. This is the vertical position. Let's bring it up higher. And actually, let's make it bigger. So this is your size. Let's drag this guy, too big here. And now remember, we want this to fit in a square. And so you can bring your guide tracks out. If you click this here, there should be a thing that says show guides. And this is just a rough idea. I put this line, you can drag and put it where you want it. I put it at 25%. This line, I put about 75% right here. So as long as it's within these two lines, we're good. All right. So you can see, oh yeah, there. So this is falling in between. So what I'm going to do is I want this style to translate to all the other ones, right? But that would be a pain if I had to do every single one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to track style and I'm going to hit create style. Let's just name this BBoss New. And now the track style is saved here and it will be applied when you select it to all the other ones. So now you don't have to do that. Huge time saver as well. Now I want to get a little more creative. I want to put a colored bar behind this. And so this is how I'm going to do that. I'm going to create a color matte. So if you go down here, this is new item, select color matte. And yeah, the size is right. 1920 by 1080. Hit OK. Now you're going to choose what color you want to make it. And let's just say, let's make it gray right here. Okay. And let's just label this gray. Okay. Now just made the color matte here. Let's put this, all this stuff under overlays. And actually same with this motion graphics template. Let's throw it all in to overlays. Okay. So take your gray color matte. Let's throw it in here. And you can see it just grayed out the entire screen. You want this under your under your subtitle track, but over everything else. So, but you don't want it to gray out the whole screen. So I'm going to shape it and crop it out. So if you go to effects right here, there's a bunch of different effects. You can type in crop. And it's found under video effects, transform, crop. You can take crop, drag it onto the color matte, the gray color matte right here. Now, when you make sure that the gray color matte is highlighted, go to your effects control up here. You can see crop has showed up. So now I'm going to crop everything so that it's just going to outline the text. So let's start from the top down. Click and drag it down to about there. That's cool. Bottom, let's do the same thing. Click and drag it up. There you go. Now same with left. Let's drag this so it's right there. 25% and right. Make that, what, 75%? Or 25%. There you go. That's even. Cool. So now you have a nice gray background behind here. Let's turn off the guides You get a better view. Awesome. So now let's drag this entire thing for the length of the captions, so it covers all the captions.
Everything else I'm good with, and there aren't.
Now, if you look here, it just dragged this gray bar over the title. We don't want that. So let's go ahead and cut this and drag this back. Drag this back.
To restore your soul.
Awesome. And so now it's auto captioned and it's stylized.
I grew to tolerate it eventually, but you're restore your soul.
All right, we got captions. Let's add some music to this. And this is what I like to do to get copyright-free music. If you Google YouTube audio library, it will bring this up, YouTube audio library. Go ahead and click it, and it will give you a whole bunch of tracks that are copyright-free that you can download. Now, I'm gonna look for a hip-hop track, and you can choose by genre. Go to hip-hop. Sure, let's throw in R&B and soul too. Hit apply. And now all these hip hop tracks have shown up.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
That's cool. All right, so let's do this. Let's download this track. Go right here and hit download. Again, any asset that you create, put it back into that shared folder that you are sharing on Dropbox so it syncs up with all your other editors. And let's show in Finder. Here it is. Now, let's drag this back into your project and put it in the audio bin. Road tripping. Let's put this here. All right. So that's where you get copyright-free music, YouTube audio library. And let's drag this into a new track. Let's put it right here. Now I want to start the music right after this teaser intro.
Shepherd to restore your soul.
Let's make this bigger so you can see.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
So I actually want to start it right here after the MC says stuff. Right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cut right here on the audio track. Let's delete this and let's drag this audio track to right where the title starts. Let's see here, right there. And it snaps to where you want it because this magnet is on. This is the snap in tool. You can turn it off and that way it drags wherever you want it. It's not going to snap anywhere, but if you turn it on, that way it'll snap to an edit point or where your playhead is. It just makes it a little bit easier to get precise. So now that seems better.
For the good shepherd to restore your soul. I used to really not like cauliflower.
Okay, so I want this to go a little bit longer to go with the music.
I used to really not like cauliflower. Okay. I used to really not like cauliflower. Okay.
All right, so let's just move it to where this playhead is. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select this tool. It's select track forward right here. And anything that is on this side gets selected. But I don't want to move the music just yet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lock the music track so it doesn't move, but everything else does from here on. I'm going to hold down and it's going to move and snap to where the right roughly where the playhead is right here. Boom. Okay. Now I'm going to extend the title. Oh wait, let's undo this. Let's extend this title. Oh, you know what? Let's move this back then, because that's as far as the title goes. Move it back. There you go. And extend this guy, which is your thumbnail. Now, notice it stopped moving right here, where you want it to keep on moving, so you're going to have to move your waypoint here. Boom. So that way pushes throughout the whole thing.
I used to really not like cauliflower, okay? And I grew.
Now unlock the audio. Now we got to change the track volume level.
I used to really not.
To dip when he starts talking. So what we're gonna do is expand this audio track. Now there's a line here, that's your volume. If you hold down Command, you can add more waypoints, the keyframes here. So let's put a keyframe right here and a keyframe right here. This is when he starts talking. Now let's drag this side down. So notice how it's dragging, changing the level after that keyframe, but not here.
I used to.
Cool, so it made it a little bit lower.
I used to really not like cauliflower.
There you go.
Okay? And I grew to tolerate it eventually, but years
It can be lower.
and years ago, it was not something for your soul.
Actually, it's too loud in the beginning, so I'm going to drop this a bit.
Restore your soul.
All right, so the audio works. Now, I don't want it going through the entire thing.
Greener pastures in life.
So actually, I'm going to drag the end of the audio track. I'm going to put a long fade out. So let's select the end of this and put a transition. And I want this long. I'm just going to drag it out like that.
Or you take it as an opportunity for the good shepherd to restore your soul.
I'm going to make the music go out further.
Oh, Kyle loves cauliflower.
I'll have the music end after his illustration story. There it fades out. Okay, so you got your music in here. The intro looks like this.
And so when God asks you to lie down, do you kick and scream, or do you take it as an opportunity for the good shepherd to restore your soul?
Now we need a title for this. And I'm thinking, just after listening to it,
Kick and scream.
listening to it, he started with the whole point of eating your
Here's
vegetables.
the point. I had
So how about eat your spiritual vegetables? That sounds like a good intro or a good title. I'm gonna make it all caps. Eat. How about that? Eat your spiritual vegetables. Okay, cool. Now again, I don't know, it might be too big, so I'm gonna bring those guides out. Yeah, it's too big. So I'm gonna shrink it just a little bit. Let's go here and shrink this just a bit. There you go. Eat your spiritual vegetables. Cool. So now it looks like this. We're finalizing it now.
And so when God asks you to lie down, do you kick and scream, or do you take it as an opportunity for the good shepherd to restore your soul? I used to really not like cauliflower. Okay?
Cool.
And I grew to
Cool, that works. All right, so the last thing that we need, we got the music, we got the subtitles, is we just need to make sure this logo. You see that logo right here? Let me get rid of these guides. It's there, but it's not underneath when we go to the second angle. So we have a logo that will be shared as well. And it is in these overlays. This is the icon. Let's throw this in here. Throw it into overlays. And this is going to go over everything. All right. Now, of course, it's too big, so let's change the size of it. The size of it, and these are the magic numbers for our logo at least. 1825 by 995, and the scale is 7. Boom. There you go. Now, let's stretch this logo out throughout the entire video. Boom. And even going to the second angle, it's there.
much getting to know, or I could say.
All right, so we got everything visually where it needs to be. Now, this is how we're going to export it. Let's drag your in and out point to the very end. Make sure it is there. Your in point, make sure it is at the very beginning. Cool.
And so when God asks you.
Very good. So now this is how we export. Make sure in and out points are set. Let's go to File, hit Export, Media. And this is the export settings that we like to use. H.264. Let's go to the presets that they have and use YouTube 1080p. Click the output name. And I like to name everything that I export with a version number because sometimes you make multiple versions. So let's do V1, sermon recap, with the date, and let's put it in our finished Premiere projects folder. So remember, 2020 videos, you have your raw and your finished projects. I'm going to add sermon recap videos. I'm just going to throw it right here and save it right there. So it's going to save, it's named, and all you need to do is hit export. Boom. All right, cool. That is how you edit a subtitled sermon highlight video on Adobe Premiere. That feature of auto transcription is new and it should be rolling out to everybody this year. If you don't have it yet, I'll leave the link in the description below to sign up to get early access to it. But hopefully it'll just roll out naturally in the next few updates or so. All right, so I hope this video helps you guys edit efficiently and quickly. Blessings.